Happy Halloween! Hello, everyone, and welcome to the October 31st. It's almost November, but today's edition, the Week 8 edition of the 2-point conversion, Monday Night Football. Here we're going to preview the Browns-Bengals game. Before that, we'll talk some fantasy football, injuries, dynasty, all sorts of great fantasy football topics. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask. I'm Kyle Senra, on Twitter at Senra Says, joined by my great co-hosts. Gladys, how are you doing?
Just peachy, Kyle. Just great. I'm doing great. Hi, Doc. Happy honeymooning, if that's a thing. I don't know if that's a thing. I've never honeymooned.
It's an adjective. It counts. I think English works. Yeah. Doc is not with us. However,
no.
Always bringing his A game. The B League says, see him here. It's Discord Dan.
Promo pimp?
Promo pimp.
Why did I just now see that?
That's his new thing. How you doing, Dan?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Feeling pretty good on a Monday night. Looking forward to Wednesday night's show, the Armchair Fantasy Show, followed by the Gambit on Thursday, my show Friday, DFS show Friday night, and everything that follows over the weekend. IDP starts and sits.
Hence promo pimp.
Right. Exemplified perfectly. Don't forget tomorrow night, Tuesday, Speak on It and the Fantasy Cheat Sheet, double dose on Tuesday. But of course, for anything else, don't forget No House Advantage. You can play pick'em style contests. I believe you pick up to 5 props or bets, and if you get all 5 correct, you can win up to 20 times your entry. And so, there's some big winnings to be had on No House Advantage. You're playing against other humans as well, and you can rank overall leaderboards. There's lots of fun ways to play on No House Advantage, and of course we can help you out get started if you join and use the promo code GF2, capital G, capital F, the number 2. You can get a double deposit match up to $25. So if you want to double your money right off the bat, again, use the promo code GF2. Stands for Going for Two, which is the Going for Two live network. And Dan, that was the sponsor, right?
Bingo.
The sponsor, Dan.
That's the sponsor.
Yeah, I'll let Dan do that on his Friday night show. But
there you go. We like a sponsor.
So obviously we've got a Monday night game to preview, and there'll be some topics to discuss. I know one of the news I got, thanks to Dan, just coming on, is Hayden Hurst, who was questionable going to the game. It looks like he's playing. I know there are some Underdog has some props for them, some prop lines for Hurst, so it makes sense that they knew he was going to be active. But that's kind of the I guess the news we're waiting for is maybe Kareem Hunt. Probably not. I think he's active tonight. We don't know how much he'll play, but I guess there's always the talk of the trade rumors and trade news with him. So I don't know if either you want to touch on that or stick to our regular scheduled programming.
Do we have a regular scheduled programming?
That's true. We just talk.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping they play Kareem Hunt because I have him. But the trade rumors. But you know what? I mean, I've heard like the only one trade I've heard is Roquan Smith going to Baltimore, which they didn't need, but whatever. And then Judy going just everywhere. Like I've heard Judy going to like 5 different places. Miami, Giants. There was another team, but I forgot. Miami, Giants. Oh, Packers, Miami, and Giants.
Oh yeah, I was playing that rumor back when there was thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to get traded to the Broncos. I was thinking maybe we'd get the Packers would get Jerry Jeudy then. So yeah, those rumors have been swirling.
Yeah, but you guys don't need Jerry Jeudy. I mean, the Giants do, and
Packers could probably use some wide receiver help, to be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, are you still in the hunt, do you think?
That's a good point, to be honest. Probably not for a divisional crown, but anyway.
Okay, there you go. So you don't really need Judy. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
It's okay. The way to dig at the Packers, though. It's perfect. Very efficient in the first 5 minutes.
So I saw this, I don't know if it was on my Facebook or Instagram, where the Packers were, I guess, going to practice. And this little girl in the Packers, like 2 or 3 years old, Packers cheerleader jersey, had a teacup. Little kids pretend they make tea. And the players stopped by and pretend like they were drinking it. It was so cute. They would be like, oh my God, this is the best tea ever. And she'd be like, go Packers, go. And they'd be like, yeah, high five. So they have some good qualities. Of course, Aaron Rodgers wasn't one of those players doing it, but it was the other guys that.
You would ask her what else is in this tea. Give me the type of tea that Kyle Sunner likes to drink.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
hi
Dan.
That's
probably not hardcore enough for him. But anyway, so I guess I mentioned Hurst was the questionable player coming into tonight, but there's also injuries for both of these teams tonight. So we've got Jamar Chase and David Njoku. We addressed the David Njoku situation in the past, high ankle sprain. I remember it happened, I think, the same week as Mike Williams or right around the same time. So when we were on last week, I think Doc spoke about that, and we're kind of expecting them to be out, a month at least. And if they come back sooner, they may not be trustworthy. So yeah, with Njoku, it's tough. I guess the one good news, if you are holding him, by the time he returns, Deshaun Watson should be back, which does affect the other player that we're going to talk about later, Jacoby Brissett. But I guess with Njoku, have you, I don't know if either of you have seen your leagues, was he dropped and subsequently picked up by someone else, stashed on IR?
I dropped him.
Okay.
I dropped him in 2 of my leagues. There's no sense holding on to a tight end. I mean, when Evan Ingram was on, you have Evan Ingram on the waivers, you have Hayden Hurst on the waivers. Unless your waiver is bereft of tight ends, I would drop him. But that's just.
And me. I think the idea is, especially if you're you don't want to hold multiple tight ends at times. You don't even just want to hold one, your starter, and not worry about rostering a backup. So if your roster construction is that way, then Njoku's not someone you can afford to. You're probably dropping most tight ends on their bye week in that sort of instance. So certainly for an injury like that, which includes a bye week coming up, you'd double for sure do that. So it makes sense. I do like Billy that way too, of just minimal at the positions that are, especially if most leagues, just start one tight end, no premiums for it. Why bother holding multiple guys?
Can we talk about DK Metcalf? What the fuck? He tore his patellar tendon. Did you see him play yesterday? That game, he didn't even look like he was slightly injured.
It's a flesh wound.
Yeah, exactly. It's I don't get it. Is he like the Adrian Peterson of 2022? Is that what's going on?
I think we know how the doc feels about Pete Carroll's injury commentary. I could, how do you?
Oh yeah, DJ tore his patella tendon, but he's fine. He's looking good. He'll be back next week.
There's no way he tore his patellar tendon and was playing like he did yesterday.
No,
he probably. Well, that's the thing. Was it ever confirmed that he tore his patella tendon? I know that was kind of the rumors and.
I don't know what a confirmation would be. I mean, who are we listening to?
Exactly right. I mean, you see Seahawks play it so close to the chest that it does kind of seem like now we can trust him in our lineups kind of going forward. I mean, obviously, there's a risk of re-injury, but that risk is also present for every other player. So
yeah, but yesterday I was advising people not to play him because of the patellar tendon injury, and look what he did. What did he ran routes on 29 routes on it's ridiculous. Touchdown. He had 5 targets in the first half. It was
torching some good corners too. The Giants have
a
good defense. They got some good players.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the one that would struggle would be Lockett more than Metcalf. If Metcalf, when they said he was playing, I was like, if Metcalf's up against Adoree Jackson, we're in trouble. Just the physical difference between the two. It was ugh. That's the only thing I remember. I remember when we played them a couple of years ago. I think I spoke about this on Friday. It was a really weird game, but James Bradbury absolutely ruined him. It was one of those things. The guy had 8 targets. He had no catches, nothing. But then when he switched to someone else, or Bradbury was taken out, he went 2 for 20. It was one of those things where the right quarterback can actually absolutely shut him down, but Adoree Jackson's just not going to be the guy that keeps him quiet. He's just too big, too fast. And Jackson's relatively quick, just not DK Metcalf big and quick. It was always going to be a problem. To be honest with you, I thought Lockett was going to be the one that struggled a bit, and he did. Yeah, and
kind of got bailed out with the touchdown at the end.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He didn't really do too much, but again, the way the Giants have been playing, I feel like I've said it before, they're a bit of fool's gold, and I think that's the first team we've played with a positive record in 6 weeks. I think, who did we lose to in week 1? I forget.
The Giants or Cowboys, right?
So the Cowboys are the only other team with a positive record that we played, and we lost to them. So they've been playing teams, and look, the Giants' run over the next few weeks is very generous. It's very kind to them. So you could see more of the same from the past happening, but there's only so many injuries you can have with a team that bereft of talent for wins to keep piling up, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, so Yeti, join us in the comments, and if you want to also join the chat, be sure to head over to the Going for Two YouTube page, Going for Two Lives. Just search that on YouTube, and you should get to the channel. get to this video. If you want to interact, you can also do so on Twitch and Facebook. If you're seeing the video on Twitter, we'll be unable to. We're unable to see your comments. So, but yeah, Yeti couldn't make it tonight, but it's chaotic on Halloween. So, just happy that you were able to join us in the chats though and comments, Yeti. So appreciate that.
Embrace the chaos, Yeti. Embrace the chaos. My dog hates the what? I don't understand
the
that.
Among Us characters already. Among Us, I guess, is a Halloween thing, like a horror thing.
Oh, okay.
And it's themed costumes of that theme. Among Us should be capitalized, but
way to go, Yeti.
I know. So I think the costumes are scary for the dog, I think is what you say. Bothering the dog. So
that makes sense. I was walking my dog Friday, and this guy at the corner was in a big squirrel costume. And I was like, oh my God, my dog's not going to realize it's not actually a squirrel. And the guy started dancing, and my dog didn't realize he wasn't actually a squirrel. He tried to kill him. So I totally get it, Yeti. I totally get it. Embrace the chaos. Let him have it. Let him at him.
Oh boy. The dangers of Halloween, right?
Exactly. Choose your costumes wisely.
So I guess, choose your fantasy players wisely too is what we're always advising. Jamar Chase, this hip injury. I don't think he's been placed on IR yet, but
they're not going to place him on IR.
Unfortunately, we didn't get Doc's opinion of this because we didn't really get an announcement of this Monday. So might be something we'll have to wait for next week to hear from Doc. I'm sure Jamar Chase is such a big topic of discussion. People will want to hear about it. So we'll pause for now. He's obviously not playing tonight, and that may affect how he selects some players in the contests. But yeah, I think
4 to 6 weeks is what they're predicting, but they won't put him on IR, which is kind of weird.
I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but like there's a certain sense of if the player is big enough, might be the fantasy footballers, like a big enough star player, you'll maybe, after 3 weeks, they're healthy enough to come back. You take that risk. You don't want to, if you don't have to hold them out for that extra week, you won't take the risk. If it's sort of lesser guys on the depth chart, you don't mind freeing up the extra roster spots. Like maybe that is what it is. I mean, look at Keenan Allen, right? Like the Chargers, they could have put Keenan Allen IR. I think it's been more than 4 weeks since that injury.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it might be something like that. Chase is so big to that offense that if there's any chance he can come back before the 4 weeks, they don't want to put him on IR and take away that chance. I suppose that would be how I interpret it.
Just on that Keenan Allen thing, Austin Eckler tweeted out, who is very fantasy friendly, that he would pick up Josh Palmer on his fantasy teams. So I don't think Keenan Allen's coming back full force. I think that's what that meant. And I picked up Josh Palmer.
You see, I wondered, is that more about Mike Williams and his high ankle sprain?
Oh, maybe. I never
it could be both too.
It
might be because if both aren't healthy, then Palmer might be the number one target. I mean, Austin Eckler is probably going to lead the team in targets.
True.
But yeah, I think whether Allen's good or not, that might be Palmer might still be a great pickup even if Allen returns. Anyway, go ahead, Gladys.
What is Dan drinking?
That would be a Scotch. This
what? Yeah.
This thing? That would be a Scotch and Dry, my friend.
Okay. I like the glass. It's a nice glass.
It's a full glass. It's a
full glass. It is a full glass.
Makes it so nice. And also, Yeti proven he's not good at punctuation as he says this sentence without any punctuation. So, perfect. Thanks. Perfect example.
I'm waiting for Jeff to turn up with another Yeti. Go get Grammarly.
That's more for the Discord, right? Discord, Dan.
Yeah, join us. Go for 2.com server. Get amongst it.
Yeah, for sure. It's going for 2.com server on Discord. It's we're close to 700 members strong. It's a lot of activity happening, including Doc's injury. So if you don't want to wait every week to hear from him here, and if he's not here, you can always find the Doc's injury channel there and get his access to him and all of his information. Gators back in the USA, so back in
welcome back, Gator.
The Gators swimming back in the local streams, right?
Where was Gator? Do we know?
I don't know. Where was Gator? We'll find out soon. Right? Where did Gator migrate to? Wait till Friday when I covered Dan. Oh, is he covered for you this week, Dan?
Yes, it would be my wife's birthday this Friday, so I am running up. Yes.
Happy birthday, Dan's wife.
Yes. Mrs. B. Lee gets a birthday, so Dan doesn't stream. That's
Oh,
it.
man.
This is promo pimp. Happy
Yes,
birthday.
she is. It ain't easy.
And Gator's excited for Yeti. So, yeah.
She's all right.
Apparently,
She's
Dan
good.
will have that empty soon. Oh, I started.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how long we keep rambling on. But I guess to talk about Chase, it seems like we're expecting him back before the end of the season. So in fantasy football, I'd imagine in Dynasty, what would you do with Chase if you have him? I actually don't have any Chase in Dynasty, so only in redraft. I think even in redraft, I think I'm still holding him. I don't think I'll be able to trade him at all.
I don't play a lot of redraft, but I think with redraft, this is a guy you probably spend a top 3 pick on. You're probably not dropping him at all. You're probably just going to ride out the next 6 weeks and hope you can do enough to get to the playoffs, if that would be it. It's going to be hard, but listen, I think the benefit of, say, Chase missing the next 6 weeks, if you can find a silver lining, would be a lot of good players are going to have bye weeks over the next 3-4 weeks, right? So everyone's going to be missing players. You just got to hope your schedule's kind and go from there. Play the waivers, see what you can do, stream a good matchup, hope for the best.
I don't play a lot of Dynasty, so I don't have any of Chase. But in redraft, for some reason, I don't have Chase in redraft either. But if I did, I would hold onto him. Yeah, especially if my record was such that I think that I'm going to make a playoffs with or without him.
Yeah.
And he will be back for the playoffs. But yeah, I'm not dropping him until you have a definitive answer.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder in Dynasty if it's almost more of a buy situation. Like, can you tier up from guys you wouldn't be able to have tiered up from before? Like, now that Metcalf's back, do you go give Metcalf in a first for Chase in a third or something like that?
One, I don't think that'd be enough. And two, I think a lot of people are too savvy to go, hey, my best player, arguably, because if you've got Chase, he's probably your best player, depending the format or whether it's Superflex, QB, whatever. They're going to sit there looking at that going, you're going to offer me a guy that was just ruled out for the rest of the year for Jamar Chase. Like, do you see what I mean? I think people are a little bit too switched on to buy into that. I think.
Well, Gator's yelling. So I think that's the thing. If you've got Chase, just hold him.
I say
if
this
you can
all the
buy
time.
him, try and buy him. But yeah, you're probably not going to.
I say this all the time, and most teams, especially Dynasty, which are deeper, I think he's not hurting your team on your IR, right? I look at it like that. So if I have Trey Lance, all right, he's out for the year, I can put him there. It's not like he's burning a roster spot, right? He's on the IR. That's it. It's same with like Chase. You can throw him on your IR for the next 4 or 5 weeks. He's not killing you. It sucks.
But a lot of redrafts don't have IR.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like with redraft, I don't think you're doing anything anyway. I think you just. I agree with Gladys. You're holding on to him. You drop the top 4 pick on him.
You'll find other bench spots to move if you need to drop it.
And the good thing is wide receiver is stupid streamable. Like, you could find guys every week that are streamable for that 1 week. Khalif Raymond, of course you can. Terrace Marshall went off for 84 yards this week. Of course you can. You can find people every week if the matchup is good. That'll get you through from week to week. Donovan Peoples-Jones in redraft is probably our most waiver wise. This is a guy that's a top 30 receiver or something stupid, top 2 in his team, second most targets, and he's probably sitting there on your waivers doing nothing. So there's people like that out there every week. Darius Slayton, I'm sure he's hot 1 week, cold the next. He's probably sitting there, and I forget the Giants, they might have Detroit next week or something stupid. You got to look at it like that. Who's got a good matchup? Who can pop off for a week? And that's it. Get by.
The Giants are on a bye next week.
Oh, thank God. Oh, good.
Apparently, Gator also swam over to Turks and Caicos.
Oh, nice, Gator.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
Is that Caicos?
Caicos. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Turks and Caicos.
I almost thought he was talking about Darius Sirocco, a CFL offensive lineman when I first saw it.
That would be Turks and Caicos, Kyle.
I don't even know where that is, to be honest. So
it would be, I believe, the southeast part of the Caribbean, give or take. If I remember.
Give or take.
We're in an ocean. Gotcha.
I was meant to go there this year. I went somewhere else. So I know that. I was looking at it and I was like, nah, I'm going somewhere else.
Well, okay. Apparently, Yeti's got the good picks, which, again, part of Dan's show on Friday night is excellent pick making and lots of great rants too. But I guess he's going to have to work on the Australian accent, kind of to be like Dog.
Please, just don't do it.
Just do a Yeti accent instead. I think we'll appreciate that, prefer that more.
I did do a Yeti. I did do a Yeti call this week, though.
Well, that's
I
like
heard
you
that.
said. Vikings
really
and Giants are not good 6-1 teams. Even me and Dan admit that. But the Giants aren't even a 6-1 team. So
Yeah,
they're
they're
the
not
really
6-1.
bad 6-1 team.
Giants are the worst
5-2.
6-2 team in NFL history. I don't know.
Yeah.
Didn't you know that? You didn't know that? The worst 6-2 team in NFL history with the same record as the Dallas Cowboys were the worst ones.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Makes sense.
So one last player I want to talk about tonight is Jacoby Brissett. What are we doing with him in fantasy? I mean, this, Deshaun Watson's impending return is impending. And so, a couple more weeks of startability with Brissett. Are we trying to move him? Is it something that you just hold him in case something happens to Watson, an injury or something else? And he may get starts at the end of the year. Like, how are we approaching Brissett?
I put this question in, and I'll tell you this now. I have, in a league where I've been absolutely smashed by injuries at quarterback, and I don't think it's the one I'm in with you, Kyle. It's in a different one. This week, I started Sam Ehlinger. This is super flex to tell you how bad it has gotten for my quarterbacks. I have got nothing. I outbid everyone for Ehlinger. Might be our league, and I started him and him only, right? If I had Brissett, if I'm someone else in the league and I'm looking at that guy who has Ehlinger, I'm probably just trying to get anything in Dynasty, anything back for a guy who's going to be riding the pine for the next couple months. He's got 2 more good games in him and a bye, and then that's when Watson gets back. They're not going to wait and see. What are they, 2-5? They're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Oh, well, he might win 2 more games. We could be 4-5. And no, as soon as Watson's ready, he's out. So if you can ship him off to someone else who could get a couple weeks out of it, you got to get something back, because this guy, as soon as he gets back, then what? He's dead weight on your roster.
I know from a dynasty perspective, I was actually trying to buy Brissett in a couple leagues, and it would have cost a second plus, and it was like I'll go spend 2 seconds on Carson Wentz, which turns out to not be so great of a decision. But
hey, listen, but then again, I turned down Andy Dalton, right? And Andy Dalton has turned out to work quite well. There's guys out there like that you can look. In this league, do I really want to be starting Sam Ehlinger as my solo quarterback in a superflex? No. If someone could offer me like Brissett and say, screw it, I'll take a third for him, I'd have to think about it. Okay, well, I'm going to get 2 or 3 more weeks. It might be the difference between me making the playoffs and me not making the playoffs when those other quarterbacks come back. It's very there's an opportunity there it's almost like, quote unquote, streaming him for the next 3 weeks, and almost like a rental if you want. But there's an opportunity to cash out on him now, I think, before your trade deadline hits, for you to actually get something out of him before he just sits on your bench and does nothing. And you're going to do your rookie drafts, and then you're going to look at him and go, well, who can I cut? Well, I'm going to have to keep Brissett because he's a quarterback, and then he's going to do nothing. And that's a problem, right? So it's an interesting question that I have for people, but I think if you can see a team in your league and say, listen, I don't want much, I just want something. It could be a play. It could be short at wide receiver. Maybe Jamar Chase has gone down. Hey, listen, I need a wide receiver. Give me something. I'll give you Brissett. Let's switch it about. There's got to be a way that you can move him, get something for him, and not be high and dry without him.
Are you talking Dynasty, right?
Either or. I think in redraft, if it's like a deep enough redraft, you could probably try and move. I don't think you'll get much, but
yeah. Okay.
Well, as long as it's super flex. I think in one quarterback he has no value. You're just going to drop him when his time's done to start.
Right, but what I'm saying is if it's redraft,
you're having to start Brissett right now in one QB, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, but I'm just saying if it's 1 QB, if it's 2 QB in redraft, and you're someone that has Brissett and maybe Chase, you could find a way to make that work and get around.
Target teams that are desperate for quarterbacks and will need him to start.
If you got Zach Wilson, someone's got Zach Wilson on their roster, and they're probably freaking out a little bit, right? Kenny Pickett's putting up 6 points, all right? Probably freaking out. Hey, listen, Brissett will get you twice as many points.
Dude, if you have Zach Wilson, go get Mike White.
There you go. Joe Flacco, bring him back. He's
exactly.
So good.
I don't know why.
I miss Flacco.
There was rumors Chris Streveler was going to be active, and then I guess they didn't make him active, but whatever.
Joe Flacco was torching teams at the start of the year. Yeah, that's why they had that good record.
I don't know why they're jumping over him to go to the white kid. I don't know.
If you're one of your best players on your offenses, I don't know, he doesn't throw it to me. That's a problem, hey. Elijah Moore
part of that is also he barely played too, right? So that's on the coaching staff too. It's not just on Zach Wilson. If Elijah Moore is not out,
they're not going to not play Zach Wilson because Elijah Moore's not happy. If they have to drop someone, it's Moore.
Well, I get that. So I guess does Zach Wilson hate Elijah Moore? Is that the takeaway from all this? Because it does seem like it's two different.
I don't think it's that he hates him. I just think he's not good enough to get it to him.
Yeah,
he just does not look good. He looks terrible. He looks terrible. It's again, like we're talking about another Jets quarterback that misses a preseason, right? And this happened to Sam Darnold. This was the tail of his tape. Tail of his tape was that he misses misses preseason, misses first couple games, comes back in, doesn't catch up the speed, gets hurt. Now what?
So Joe Flacco is Ryan Fitzpatrick in this scenario.
I mean, Joe Flacco, mate, what was he going? 300 yards every game, and he had Conklin, Wilson, Moore. They were just tearing it up. Like they were going nuts.
Even Corey Davis was doing well.
Corey Davis was a top 25 receiver. Like. Throwing it 40 times a game. It was wild. That's beside the point.
Yeah, it's some good quarterback talk. Also, beside the point is Turks is just north of Haiti. And I think you're right, Dan, Haiti to the eastern side of the Caribbean. So Dan knows his stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Matt Ryan to the Jets. Honestly, would they just not be better with Flacco at this point? Like I think at this point, it's just stick with Flacco. Flacco can actually win a Super Bowl. We know that. Matt Ryan can't.
What would happen? What would happen if Matt Ryan ended up in Atlanta again next year? What would happen?
No, they still have Desmond Ridder sitting the bench.
If you can't overtake Marcus Mariota, there's a problem.
Okay, we're talking Arthur Smith. We're talking Arthur Smith. If you can't overtake Marcus Mariota with a reasonable coach, it's a problem. If you can't overtake Marcus Mariota with Arthur Smith, that's not really a problem. That's Arthur Smith.
But to Dan's point, Gladys, Arthur Smith might be back there next year. So what would change?
Hey, listen, wait. They're at the top of the NFC South right now.
They are.
Like that's.
Which is my point. I think he'll be back next year. I think he's winning enough games. He's not going to get fired. So.
No, I don't think I don't think there's a chance it's going to get fired. However, Josh McDaniel, I think he's on his way out.
Oh.
As he should be.
I forgot. It's Melbourne Cup Day back in Australia. Happy Cup Day to everyone back home.
What is that?
If you don't know, Melbourne Cup is a 3-minute horse race where it's a public holiday. We have a public holiday for a horse race.
Nice.
Yes, it's great. It's one
for a horse race.
It's a 3-minute. It's one of the most expensive and prized. It's one of the most expensive and prized.
Like the Kentucky
races.
Derby.
It's about as big,
if not. 3 minutes sounds a lot longer than the Kentucky Derby. Isn't the Kentucky Derby over in like 50 seconds?
Yeah, it's a big one. It's one of the biggest ones in the world. And the whole Melbourne Cup. Yeah, the whole Melbourne Carnival. Yeah, it's incredible. So everyone that's in Melbourne or Australia, enjoy Cup Day. Get around it.
And Gator obviously agrees with Gladys that Arthur Smith is the problem.
Oh my God.
What's wrong?
Miles Garrett, have you seen what he's turned up to? Have you seen what he's wearing?
No. I don't have TV on. What's he wearing?
What's that evil thing from Stranger Things in the last season?
He's wearing a costume?
Yeah. What's that thing?
I love Miles Garrett.
What's that freaking thing called?
I don't watch Stranger Things. I don't watch Stranger Things. Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't either.
You know how I am about the names of things as well, but like that's what he's dressed as.
I love Miles Garrett. So
yeah, he's incredible.
What are your kids dressed as, Dan?
My boy.
Princess?
No, my boy turned up as Venom.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, and my daughter turned up as a witch, but that was tonight to go trick or treating at school. She was a cheerleader.
Aw.
Yeah.
They're same thing.
Is she maybe a cheerleader at school? Like, is that not a costume? Is that actually maybe she had an event today?
No.
Yeah, they had a school thing.
Cheerleaders are witches. Trust me.
I don't know. She did one of those things. Look, she's 6.
That almost sounds like it's insulting witches there, Gladys.
Yeah.
That is insulting witches, actually.
But they both looked sorry, my boy was Venom tonight. He was Miles Morales earlier today.
Oh, that's funny that there's the Spider-Man reference. Both sides.
Nice. I like it.
He left it here. So that's his
Miles Morales. It's almost like being the Bengals and the Browns. Both all brown on both sides.
But he's a Miles Morales person.
Kyle, I really, really admire your attempts to always bring it back to fantasy football. It's adorable. I love it.
Well, back to the talk about Matt Ryan. Can I go on a little try up here?
Okay, please do.
So if you want to rant, Kyle.
So we started talking about Jacoby Brissett, and now we finished talking with Matt Ryan. which is basically a microcosm of the last half decade for the Colts, right? Like you had Andrew Luck surprisingly retire. You went with Jacoby Brissett. I don't know if you guys remember that season. Jacoby Brissett started 5-2,
good.
and then he suffered a knee injury, and then he came back, I guess, a little earlier than expected, and then he looked awful coming back. But I also wonder, was that all just the knee injury? Like, was he just not able to throw properly because his passes did not look like they had the same zip on them? He wasn't as accurate. It just seemed like that injury really affected him. And then they took that sample size and decided we're going to move on to Phillip Rivers, which, I mean, that wasn't a trade. That was a free agent. So I guess that was, of all the moves they made, that's the most justifiable because that also did get them into the playoffs. Josh Allen did end that for them, but I have a feeling Josh Allen's going to be doing that to a lot of quarterbacks over the next while. Then give up draft picks for Carson Wentz, give up more draft picks for Matt Ryan. Should they not have just kept Jacoby Brissett this whole time? And maybe you could have moved on from him anyway, but could you not have developed around him and gotten to at least the point where they at now while still saving all those draft picks that they wasted? I feel like they'd be in a better spot. So, I was saying it from the start. I thought they should have given Brissett another chance. I thought that early season sample size was enough for me to say, okay, a healthy Brissett might make them compete for the playoffs. And yet they've been in purgatory ever since. And I mean, Brissett, it's not like he hasn't won a ton of games for the Browns, but it seems like he's kind of kept them afloat and kept them competitive in most games. So it seems like the Browns are the big benefit of that. So I don't know. Good job, Colts. That's the takeaway.
Yeah, the Wentz one was a stinker, I think. The thing is, I understand Matt Ryan because I get it as a veteran presence as such that he's a very loyal quarterback and he's produced at times. He's an MVP. He's done it. So I understand thinking you can get him on the cheap in that regard. The Carson Wentz trade was just atrocious. It just was. I don't think it matters. I think if they had have not gone with Rivers, they'd have replaced Brissett in the draft. I think he would have been replaceable anyway. He was traded in. He was traded as well, right? So it's not like he was like a homegrown talent for them. They traded him from the Pats.
That's true. Yeah.
And I think the Andrew Luck, he didn't get protection. He got hurt. Right? Jacoby Brissett didn't get protection. He got hurt. Phillip Rivers, he got rid of the ball too quick to get hurt, but Carson Wentz didn't get protection, got hurt. Matt Ryan, not getting protection, getting hurt. There's a trend with it. Doesn't matter. I don't think it matters who the quarterback is. They didn't replace T.Y. Hilton. They didn't replace Jack Doyle. Jelani Woods has had a couple touchdowns. He's done nothing, right? They haven't really done anything to help you can say Jonathan Taylor if you want, but they haven't really done anything to protect whoever's at the quarterback position anyway. Although if they had have, maybe Luck doesn't retire 4 or 5 years ago. But that's the thing. Everyone will say, oh, well, they drafted Quentin Nelson. Okay, but they've also let Galinsky go. They've let other guys go. They haven't been able to keep their core together no matter what. So if, they traded for Brissett, he got hurt anyway. His fate was no different to Wentz or Ryan. They couldn't protect their quarterback. They got hurt and they move on. Erlinger's going to be the same. At some point, he moves around too much. Okay, that's fine, but he's going to get found out. He's going to get caught, and he's probably going to get hurt. That's just how the luck of the Colts quarterbacks is at the moment. I really think, okay, it's nice that Erlinger's playing, and they drafted him, and they've given him time to learn and come up and mature. But again, I don't know if they're 2-1 or 3-4-1. The way that these picks are working out, they're a chance to having a top 5, top 10 pick. Go get your quarterback next year and make sure it's a damn good one. That's what I'd say. But they got to do all they can in protection. Hit that free agency market. You look at what some of these teams. Dwayne Brown was a free agent till when? Before week 1, before he went to the Jets. He was just out there. That's insane. Kappa was out there. He went there, a month before the season started, 2 months before the season started. All these guys that the Bucs have gone through. They lost everyone. They were still able to replace them. The Colts just haven't. They haven't done their due diligence in being able to protect the quarterback. I think Brissett would have been. I think if they hadn't have gone through Rivers or Wentz, he'd have been replaced by now anyway.
Fair enough. All right.
He's done okay. He's done okay for the Browns, but 2-5, that's the winnable games. They've had winnable games.
Probably shouldn't have lost the Jets. There's a couple in there that they might have.
A better quarterback like Watson wouldn't have lost them games, and that's the difference, right? Better quarterback.
Did they lose to the Falcons?
Games. Yeah.
Which I guess again, division leading Falcons, right? So
it's just one of those things. And you know what, that AFC, and I don't have to tell Gladys, AFC North games are super competitive no matter what. You don't really see teams. Doesn't matter what happens to Pittsburgh against Philly. What happens between Pittsburgh and like Cleveland is going to be tight. They're going to be competitive games no matter what, right? So they're always a chance in them ones. Tonight's game, like over and under 45.5. It's a tight game.
Did I do it wrong? I put 45.
It doesn't matter. I gave you guys the odds for today. It was +3 or -3 and 45. I've only updated about 30 minutes ago. But those AFC North games are tight no matter what. You're always in it. A game against Atlanta that you should win at home. Come on. There's reasons why they're called journeymen, right? They get replaced.
Well, as you can see, I guess this is a perfect time to talk about the props, our underdog props that we normally do for Monday Night Football. And of course, our underdog promo code is, from our sponsor, Underdog. And you could join the underdog.com, our sponsor, and use the promo code GF2, and you can get a deposit match up to $100 in joining Underdog. And you can, pick either the games, the high or lower on their projection for the games, but also individual player props. And we'll kind of get into both of those here. So I guess, do we plug everything else? Yeah. No house advantage, Underdog again. The promo code GF2 for those double deposit matches. Dan's already mentioned the Discord. Discord Dan, of course, always promoting that. The promo Discord Dan.
Get amongst it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I guess, does anyone want to start with talk about their thoughts about this? Any of these projections? So the over under of 45.5, or the Bengals favored by 3.
Why don't you give Doc's? What did Doc? I forgot.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. We can start. We'll give Doc's his answers, then we can discuss our own. Yeah. So, Doc went with the Browns and lower. So taking the underdog Browns at home, and it seems like that's a popular pick among the co-hosts to go with the Browns.
I might have to change mine. Damn it, Doc. I went with the Browns and lower too.
And Dan, 3 for 3 there, right?
Yeah, I feel like the Browns are just more. They're not losing one of their best players, so I feel like it's going to be tighter than what you think. I'm not saying that the Bengals can't spread it about a bit more efficiently, but you're talking about Cooper with DPJ. Okay, they're losing Njoku, but Bryant. We know how Bryant can fit into that role just as well. You still got Chubb and Hunt. They're just as equipped as they were before, so I don't think they're going to be too far off the pace. I still think money line. I think the Bengals will still win, but the Browns will keep it tight enough. A 3.5, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going the opposite. I'm going with the Bengals, and I'm going with the higher as well. I maybe that's my initial expectations. I kind of thought this game would be among the higher ones this week. It wasn't. I thought it was surprisingly low, and it seems like it just kept getting lower and lower. So at this point, when it's 45 or even 45.5, I'll take the higher on that. And I think part of it is also why I'm picking the Bengals, just my confidence in Burrow as a quarterback. Even without Chase, I think he's developed enough that he could find ways to make it work. I think we're expecting big things from Higgins and Boyd, certainly. Those two will probably need to step up more than anyone. But I think the Bengals are a better enough team, at least have the better enough quarterback to make up the difference. So
I think the only thing you have to worry about is Zach Taylor, that without Chase, that he doesn't go back to what he tried the first 3 games of the season and
early last year, the first half of last year, really.
Make them a run first team. Yeah, that would be my only concern. I don't have that much confidence in him. So, plus I think Chase is a bigger loss for Burrow than people give him credit for. Although I think it's going to be a boon for Boyd, I hope.
There was a surprising amount of some RJP run props on Underdog.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, some of them are really tempting too, to be honest.
None of them are that tempting.
Well, I thought one was tempting. Where like last week, where I didn't really decide until last minute. Although I feel more confident in the two I'm debating between. Last week I had no confidence, and it showed. I went 0 for 3 last week actually. If we want to recap our current results, Dan's almost caught up to the Doc. Doc at 16-6-2. Dan's at 14-8-2. So not too far off, Dan, from the lead. But yeah, I went 0 for 3 last week. I've done that twice so far this year, so that's not good. But I also just wanted to kind of just some things I was kind of noticing. Dan and Doc have only got one prop wrong each. So they've been really good, especially on the prop lines. And it was the one game, the Vikings game. Dalvin Cook didn't hit the carries, and then for Doc, the only props he's got wrong was the Raiders Chiefs game. He picked Derek Carr to throw an interception.
He didn't want to.
He's thrown an interception in almost every other game, but not that one.
He didn't want to pick on the Raiders either. That was the thing. He didn't want to do it. It was like it's like he coerced. I do it it's the same with me with the Giants. I feel coerced into like picking something. This week I picked Daniel Jones to go over 38.5, like rushing yards. Oh. He only had. Tale of two. Seattle only allowed 20 rushing yards to a quarterback per game. Daniel Jones's average is like 55, 60. So it's like, well, it's in the middle there. So it's like, all right, screw it. I'll go Jones over. Like, I didn't want to pick it. But like sometimes with the team that you watch, it's one of those things where you go, that should happen. You see it, rose-colored glasses and all that sort of stuff, I guess. But,
And Gladys, your overall record might not be great, but you've been the best among us at picking the game spreads. You've picked correctly 4 times.
Under.
Well, not so much the higher lower. I mean, just like the team favored. You got the Bills as 10-point favorites. You got when the Cowboys were underdogs to the Giants. All of us went the Giants. You were the only one who took the Cowboys.
Bears last week.
All of us took the Chiefs. You took the Raiders to cover the 6-point spread, and they did cover. I think the Chiefs won by 4, so you got that one. And then you were the only one to take the Bears last week as a half-point underdog. So you've been the best so far at picking the actual spreads.
I was watching that last week. I was like, oh, she's got us again.
It
was like a quarter in. I was like, she got us again. They're up 10-0. I'm like, fine, we're done.
I've gotten one right. So maybe I'm picking the Bengals tonight. So maybe listen to everyone else and take the Browns. But because I've literally the Bills by 10. That's the only one I've gotten right.
We all took the Browns and lower, and you went the complete opposite. So
yeah, Bengals and higher. So I think that lets everyone know. I guess I guess the 1 week I picked the higher for the Chiefs Raiders, I got that right. But every other week I've gotten the higher lower rights because I picked the lower. So, I guess the Chargers as 3-point favorites were a push that week. So it's technically have one tie as well. But yeah, I've only gotten one right for the pick. So I've been doing better on the props, I will say.
Yeah, I suck at props. I don't know. But this week I'm taking Mike Thomas receptions higher than 2, right? 2 is underdog because other sites have him at 2.5, and he's played 2 games. He's had 1 reception in each game, and that was with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. So without Jamar Chase, can you hear my dog chewing that bone? Is that really as loud as it seems? Yeah. Okay. Without
it's the dog pound, right? It's the Browns game. Yeah. It's going to happen. It's going to happen tonight.
He won't move. So those passes, those targets that Jamar Chase usually has to be funneled somewhere else, and I'm hoping at least 3 of them are funneled to Mike Thomas. At least 3.
When doing my research, I was like, man, it's really interesting that Underdog has given Mike Thomas the line of his receptions for the entire season up to this point. But to your point, Gladys, Chase has been in all those games. So how is Mike Thomas's effect on the offense going to be? We don't know, but Dan always loves going with the small lines, right? And 3 catches you win, 2 catches you push, so it's small.
One of the best props I hit this week was to under half an interception. Detroit have one of the worst defenses in the league, one of the least turnover teams, least teams with turnovers in the league, and he's one of the safer bets, right? So
he didn't throw an interception, did he?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it was one of those things where you go, he's not going to throw an intercept this game. Like, you can all he has to do is not do it. It's an easy result to get to. Just he has to do this one thing. He doesn't have to do this one thing the whole game. That's it. It's easy to get to 1. It's hard to get to 100. It's hard to get to 105 for, like, say, Joe Mixon tonight, or 95. It's hard to get to him to 100, right? Like, it's hard to get to that point. So, yeah, I agree. I saw the Mike Thomas one. I was like, good. Like, that made me. I was very happy to see that because like he's going to get red zone targets. Like he will. They do like going to him in the red zone every now and again. He scores. He pops up and scores like that odd touchdown. Once a year, he'll do it. He had like one massive game last year as well. I remember that as well. Like, he does do this. Do I think this could be more Hayden Hurst or something? Sure, but that doesn't mean he won't be out there having a go. Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing with Mike Thomas, looking at the yards, he's the number 3 receiver on the Bengals. Looking at the Browns' number 3 receiver, David Bell, they've got him at 14 and a half receiving yards, whereas Mike Thomas is up at 25 and a half. So it seems like if you're going to bet on Mike Thomas, the receptions is probably where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, like both teams, the thing is, both teams are missing like that one big player. The Browns are missing Njoku.
Yep.
Bengals are missing Chase. Like that's not like a small piece of a team pie there. It's a big chunk. Like Njoku prior, like he was like number 2 receiver on their team, like in targets, give or take. Maybe he was one behind Peoples-Jones. I can't remember, but that's a big player to miss per week. It's the same thing with Chase. What's that, 10, 12 targets a game? Like, you got to hope. If Thomas is getting 1 per week, you got to hope he can figure into 1 or 2 more. So, quite like that one.
Wait, what did you pick? What was your pick for the prop?
For me,
Yeah.
I went Higgins higher than 5.5 receptions.
The same kind of argument as
Yeah,
class,
the same thing.
Chase.
Like, well, he's bordering since like week 2. He's only had one. I mean, there was one game he played like 16 snaps. I think he was still injured, but we can write that one off completely. He hasn't had under 7 targets since week 1, give or take. He's bordering around that 5 to 7 receptions a game. So if he does what he does, he should hit no matter what. That was my line. No matter what, without Jamar Chase, if he plays his normal game, he's going to hit. Now we can add in maybe a little bit more. It doesn't have to be a lot. He's probably going to hit regardless. So I felt pretty comfortable with that one. The yards seemed a bit easier. I think it was like 64 and a half, I want to say.
That was Boyd.
Boyd was 64 and a half. What was Higgins again?
I've got Higgins at 76 and a half.
Yeah, that wasn't that high this morning, but like, I think a lot of people were hitting over and they're just trying to scare people off at this point. So it is Halloween, but yeah, I felt like with Higgins, he was going to get that 5, 6, he's going to get that 8, 9 targets a game anyway. He's going to get those 5, 6 receptions no matter what. Felt pretty confident with that. Doesn't take much more for him to go over from what his natural game would be. He might get more attraction. I understand that, but I think he's a little bit better than what we give him credit for. I think he's underrated. And he's
I think
really
part
good.
of that was they set the lines early in the week, not knowing if Chase was going to be out. Right, that was kind of midweek. We found out. So yeah. Some of those lines were a little bit. So I mean, Amari Cooper's lines disappeared this morning at one point as well. Like he was at like 55. I've got it. I actually pinged him in for 55 and a half receiving yards, and they disappeared this afternoon. So I guess because I was curious as to like what they didn't have. Like, no receiving yards for Cooper, no receptions for Donovan Peoples-Jones. They had nothing for Harrison Bryant, and then they had way more lines for Kareem Hunt than Nick Chubb. So a lot of surprising things about Underdog in terms of what they're emitting. I
do my show on a Friday night, and I was livid because that Detroit-Miami game was just. You know that game was just going to blow up. It was there to be had on both sides. And there were no props for that up until Friday night. I'm sitting there going, oh no. And about an hour before I went live, there they are. I'm like, I can't just like.
Just for you, Dan.
I know, but like I'd already like set the show up to talk about something else. And I'm like, shit. Like, I'll run with what I've got.
But anyway, so speaking of Kareem Hunt, I guess we'll share what Doc chose. He chose Kareem Hunt and his rushing and receiving yards combined at 53 and a half, going lower. So I think it's a savvy move that if Hunt's active and doesn't get much work, he might not hit that. So I think it's really smart of Doc to go with the Hunt under. It seems like it makes sense because, I was surprised they even had the lines. I figured they might just pull them completely. So I was curious that they didn't pull him, but they pulled everyone else.
You know what? The same thing. I had the same theory with like Kamara. This week, Kamara, he's going to get traded. He's going to get traded.
Yeah.
They talk about it. Okay,
Mark Ingram gets hurt, and they don't have a choice.
Yeah, and then he's smashed. It's one of those things. I was like, oh no, down he goes, and they're going to play Kamara, and I don't think that was their plan, but it happened. I think it could be the same with Hunt. I really feel like it could have just been better for them to not play him at all and say, hey, listen, just in case. If not, you'll be here next week. But I'm sure he doesn't want to get hurt. He's kind of made his intentions to get out as well at the start of the year. Sure, he doesn't want to get hurt tonight, knowing that he could go somewhere else. Makes no sense.
So I think because it does seem like the Browns are much more likely to trade Hunt than the Saints seem to be to trade Kamara. So I guess for myself, so I haven't fully decided because there are actually, unlike last week where I couldn't find a line that I like, there are two that I really like this week. So I'm going to talk about both and I will decide live on the air. So the first one was Samaje Perine. And back to the idea of we like the small numbers, higher than 1.5 receptions. And I remember looking, he hit that, I think in 4 of his 7 games, or no, 5 of his 7 games, he's hit that. And it's back to the theory of without Chase, more receptions for everyone else means probably more dump offs for the running backs like Perine and Mixon. And the way I see it, either game script probably works for him. If the Bengals are blowing out the Browns, he's probably just going to see more work, just be on the field more than Mixon anyway, and might just get those dump offs just because he's out there. And if it's a close game, it seems like they really like putting Perine in on third downs. So I feel like it's safe for him to get 2 receptions in a game, but not to bully Gladys, but we saw it a couple weeks ago with Pollard. Okay, the pass catching running back, I think it was something like that, 1.5 or 2 receptions got 0, right? So that is kind of a risk, but I feel pretty safe with Perine getting that.
So that's where you're going with?
No, wait. Let's see what the other one is because he's waiting for us to tilt him one way or the other.
Okay.
I'm trying to gauge Dan's reactions to this. Trying to read his body language. Okay. I'm going with the other one. I would go with in theory would be a rivals pick actually. And so my most rostered fantasy player this year is Tyler Boyd. And I think this is the only Bengals game we get, so it'd be a good chance to just get extra exposure to him. And
his rivals were very generous this week.
And I didn't, because I was thinking initially his individual lines, 5 receptions, 64.5 yards. Okay, those are all doable. But then I saw the rivals, and the one that really stood out to me is Boyd versus Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I saw that one.
Minus 1.5 receptions. So can Boyd get 2 more catches than Donovan Peoples-Jones? We talk about like just the Browns, the run heavy approach, and maybe the Bengals do that a little bit too, but no Chase. I feel like is a bigger deal for Boyd than no Njoku is for Donovan Peoples-Jones. So I think I'm actually going to go with that one. Tyler Boyd, rivals versus Donovan Peoples-Jones at minus 1.5 receptions.
If the Bengals are weak on the passing game, it is to the slot receiver. So, I would go with that one.
Where's this Tyler Boyd?
Because I think Donovan Peoples-Jones plays more in the perimeter. Whereas if anyone's going to go in the slot, it might actually be more Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Where's this Tyler Boyd one? This is going to bother me. Never mind me.
I don't know. Okay.
Anyway, so the one I saw was again.
Here you go. Sorry, there you go. It was Amari Cooper plus 5.5. Plus 5.5 against Tyler Boyd.
Yeah,
plus,
that one seemed.
I saw that one. I was like,
I almost thought going the opposite there, to be honest, and taking Cooper, and that's why I thought I saw the Donovan Peoples-Jones line. I was more confident. Okay, he could outproduce him, and it's a small enough margin.
There was another one for DPJ. It was DPJ versus Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst is getting plus 6.5.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good ones in there. A lot of good ones. So which one are you going with?
I'm going to go with Boyd. I'll do a rivals. I think we haven't done too many rivals, so it's a good chance to get one in here.
There's always one in the group. So
you realize, of course, if you're in Colorado, you can't do pick'ems on underdogs. So
that's why
it's funny because both of the. Sorry about that, Gladys.
Whatever. I'm over it now.
Laws.
Silly state laws. It's really weird because you can do pick'ems and all the other ones.
I'm from Australia. We have amazing gambling laws throughout the country. It's incredible. It's freedom. It's just, easy. I'll walk down corner store, throw a bet on. No worries. It's easy. Everywhere. Anywhere you can turn. It's a part of the culture. Here, I just want to put a bet on. Nah. You need to enter reCAPTCHA to get into your own account with a face screening to put on a bet, which was an overseas bookie in France. This is the most ridiculous place. You can't get your shit together. can't legalize drugs, can't legalize gambling, can't do anything. This place is a fucking stinker. Pardon my language. You can't legalize fucking gambling? Really?
Yeah, I know Jeff's been telling Gerson to lay down on the swearing recently. I think
no, but really, like, it's one of those things. Like I've worked for like gambling sites back home, so it's one of those things where my dad worked for the Department of Gaming and Racing back in Australia, so like, I know from a ground floor level, like gambling is easy to regulate. I've seen this, like in my house, someone that implemented strategies to make gambling easier and accessible to people that all the states and governments can actually be beneficial from. Literally seen it in my own house happen. So like, I know it's easy. My dad knew it was easy, and he's not the smartest bloke in the world. He knows his stuff, but like, he's not like a brain surgeon. Like, you know how to put a law together. It's one of those things. Yeah, sure. But it's one of those things where like, it's not that hard to do. And like the fact that you can't get it together in this country, no, well, it doesn't benefit us as a state. Okay, well, tax it. Tax the winnings. Very easy. Take 1% from everyone's winnings, right? Very easy. And it goes back to the state itself. And it'll self-regulate that way. Very easy.
Because people will gamble. There'll be enough people to put money in.
People will gamble. And you know what? People will win and people will lose. You take 1%. 1% goes a long way. You'd be surprised. You can make it even more if you want. Make it 3%. Very simple. Someone's winning. Someone makes $1,000. Take 3% every time they do it. There's a lot of people that gamble per state. There's a lot of money that goes in every weekend. Make it accessible out of state. Bang. Everyone's going to – it's just mind-blowing. Mind-blowing that you can't get it together here. The fact that you can't do – and the thing is, like, I know in New York, they had to change – again, like, for those that got the underdog wording, they were like, you have to change the wording on how you talk about these things because it's a part of regulations. You can't say over and higher and lower. No, over and under.
No, over and under.
You can't say that because
we were so used to it. We were good at it.
It's because that's a part of something else. You can't say that the line is set because that's a part of certain vocabulary that is – you have to say this is what it's been. Like, they gave us like a heads up, this is what you have to say to get away with certain things with this state, with how you can get away with saying higher and lower. It's just a pick 'em. Very easy. The fact that that's how dumbed down it is, it's like my mind is blown by this. It's just, I've been here for 10 years and nothing has changed by it. It's like insane. It kills me. And I'm not like the biggest gambler in the world, but like I like regulations and formalities more than anyone. Get it together. It's not that hard.
America's problem, one bet at a time.
It's just like it's so bad. How do you like we can do DFS, right? And DraftKings can have its own site for gambling, but like there's no stopping that. But this one has. It's just this country sucks sometimes. Like it just sucks. Like my kids are born here. It's my kids are born here, so like I got to deal with it. But like, goddamn, like you can't even get gambling right in this country. It should be one of the easiest things. My country was built on it. It's wild.
Dan, try being a black woman in this countri. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Gambling's the least.
That sounds like more problems we can handle today. At least I said one problem at a time. We can do that next week.
I'm not going to lie to you. That's a rant I'm waiting for. Oh.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Gladys going to tee off one day.
Probably after this election, actually. I got a story.
I got a story for you afterwards, Gladys. Don't worry. I got one for you. But you can't hang up straight away.
Oh wow! Teasing for the end.
She's gone.
Just like all those Amari Cooper receiving yard lines are gone.
I have shit to do, man. All right. Anyway.
Perfect, right?
So everyone but Kyle went under. Kyle,
he's on his own island.
Yeah, on an island all by yourself, and you took the two against each other thing.
Yeah, I took the rivals. I'm going.
The rivals.
Yeah. So to recap everything. Three of the four of us took Browns as 3.5 underdogs and the lower. I did the exact opposite.
Cole's working hard tonight.
He's working hard tonight.
He's working hard.
It's talk, right? But yeah.
So is it still supposed to rain there? Does anyone know? Like, I heard that for the first half it's supposed to be rainy and windy.
In Cleveland?
Cleveland.
I have no idea. I have no, but I know it was who had it this week? Who else in the NFC North was playing at home? Was it Pittsburgh?
No, they played in Philly.
Well, Pennsylvania's still right. I mean, the win there's still pretty. Oh, Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, it is.
No, I got that one right. Same thing.
Yeah.
Hooray! Good job, Dan.
I'm sure the wind. I'm sure the wind is there. Like, we're pretty bad. The wind
I almost typed in Cleveland Browns to like an address thing, and I'm trying to find Cleveland, Ohio.
I had to double take. I'm pretty sure Pittsburgh's in Pennsylvania. I'm pretty sure.
Sorry. Yes, it's in Pennsylvania. It was the Battle of Pennsylvania. Is how yeah.
Looking at the hourly forecast, it doesn't look like it's supposed to rain until later. Actually,
damn it!
So the game will be over by then. Very good.
Yeah.
But to Dan's point, the wind. We're at 15 kilometers an hour. I don't know what that is in miles. I'm sorry. I'm gusts at 20 kilometers an hour.
Kilometer. What's it? 2.2? No, that's miles. 2.2. 15. No. Like 30.
So 30 to 40 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's strong winds or not.
No one told me there'd be math.
There's just numbers. That's all.
Facebook user. Who is that?
I don't know. Well, I guess it doesn't reveal. I was gonna say, let's see, but
yeah. What up, Facebook user? Still your girl. I don't know who I'm talking to. It doesn't really matter anymore. Oh, Dan, on your show, that was me. I didn't know I was on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
And you said, yeah, I didn't know I was on Facebook. And Jay, what up? Jay. Miss you. Yeah, that was me. And I was doing another show. But I tuned on to yours, and I didn't know I was on Facebook when I tuned in.
And I couldn't reply. Like, it's just this Facebook user. I'm like,
I know.
Hey, yo.
I know.
Privacy things with Facebook, I think, is part of the.
Is that what that is?
I think so. I think it's part of their
what
privacy
up,
laws. We can't broadcast names or whatever. But yeah, Jay, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
We're here with the talk about the scary Bengals, rawr, and the scary Browns.
Oh my God! Did you just go rawr? Did you just go rawr with the hands?
Yeah. Isn't that what Bengals do? Rawr?
I don't know.
I'm not sure what the Browns logo is, but it could be scary too.
That was good, Kyle.
Kyle struck the shot.
Well, I am going with the Bengals, right? So my judgment. Yeah, right colors, right? It's a Halloween game. Of course, they picked this game on Halloween. It's the most Halloween colors they could be. And you know, the Browns fans always dress up anyway, right? So
they do.
Just it's a normal Browns game for them. But yeah, so just to recap all of our decisions again, 3/4 of the pod, including our absent co-host Doc, are going with the Browns as 3-point underdogs and lower. I'm doing the complete opposite, taking the Bengals as 3-point favorites and the higher. In terms of our individual props, 3 of us went with Bengals props. Doc chose Kareem Hunt to go lower than 53.5 total yards, rushing and receiving combined. So he's going the lower there. Gladys is taking Mike Thomas, the big distinction there. Mike Thomas with 2 receptions, higher than 2. Dan is taking T. Higgins higher than 5.5 receptions. And I'm going another reception prop with Boyd. The verses, though, -1.5 receptions against Donovan Peoples-Jones. So I need Boyd to get 2 more catches than DPJ.
Done and done. And remember, there's like what? 6 teams on a bye next week, people. Plan accordingly.
Including the Browns?
No. Yes. The Browns, the Cowboys, the Broncos, the Giants, the Steelers, and the 49ers. Like 3 of them are, you don't care. Denver, just no one cares.
I know Keely didn't like this trade so much, but in a salary cap contract league, I traded away Christian McCaffrey to get Derrick Henry in a third. And there's an extra year on McCaffrey's contract, but I almost think that's the amount is so impeding that I actually would prefer to just save all that space. So I almost view it as a positive that it's a 1-year contract, but obviously my opponent that I traded with viewed it as, okay, the advantage of getting the extra year. So I was able to get Henry in a third. And my thinking is I've missed Henry's bye week, so I'm kind of buying my way out of having to go through a bye week with the 2 running backs, and then I get an extra third on it. So that was my thinking there.
Wait. How did you miss Henry's bye week? It's next week. It's this week.
No, I thought the Titans already had their bye.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, week 6?
Yeah, they had it. How? Yeah, they did. You're right. Sorry.
I know I've been trying.
I was thinking Nick Chubb when you said Henry for some reason.
Well, yeah, both amazing running backs, right? But I've been trying to do that in different leagues. Like one league where I had Patrick Mahomes, I offered Mahomes in the second to get Josh Allen to skip the bye week, but I think they saw right through that. They're like, no.
No.
Rather keep Allen. So like I've been trying to do that in a couple leagues. Can I buy my way out of a bye week just by trading for players after they've had their bye week, or trading away players after they've had their bye week, or before they've had their the opposite. Trading for players after they've had their bye week so I don't have to miss it, but trading away players before their bye week or during their bye week.
This is why I only play redraft, because I don't have to think that hard. You know what I'm saying? I just think, are they going to?
Well, I might try and do trades like that in redraft too, to be honest.
Oh my God. No. I I tried to get you guys the help and none of you helped me, whatever, on the trade for Devontae Adams. Guys suck.
Yeah, so what
did you
were you getting Mixon or getting Adams?
I have Adams. They all want Adams. Now they don't, but they did before this week. But yeah, so yeah, no, I was getting, she took Mixon off she said Mixon, and then she was like, no, I don't want to trade Mixon, but you can have Alvin Kamara. But at the time, Alvin Kamara hadn't had a touchdown, and there were rumors so I didn't do the Kamara, and I'm still glad I didn't do it. Devontae was just sick this week and had like 1 reception, so it's okay. But yeah, thanks guys. Thanks all 3 of you, B-League, Kyle, Doc, for the help that you didn't give me. You guys suck. I was like saying really bad things about you guys the whole day. I hope you know that.
Yeah.
Can't be worse than Adam's performance, right?
No, maybe. It was.
Yeah,
you guys have no idea.
We let you down.
You did, but it's okay. No, it's not okay, but whatever. Let's go watch the game.
Yeah, I guess we can head out of here. Game will be starting soon. So again, our sponsors are Underdog and No House Advantage. If you want to sign up for either website, use the promo code GF2. Also join the Discord, goingfor2.com/Discord. Sign up. There's tons of great channels, talk about fantasy and all sorts of other stuff constantly. So great discussions going on in Discord. Follow along on Twitter at goingfor2live, or for the main website at goingfor_2.
Keep it coming.
2, Dan. Of course, everything on goingfor2.com, whether it's DFS, redraft, dynasty, tons of different sports, NBA, NHL, NFL, of course.
Future shows.
CFL, DFS.
Give me some future shows. What future shows we got? Come on.
All right. On Mondays, we've got this show. So, of course, if you're tuning in, you know that. Keep tuning in every week. We'll be back next week. But Tuesdays, we've got Speak On It, the Fantasy Cheat Sheet. Wednesday's the Armchair Fantasy Show. Thursday night's the Dynasty Gambit. Friday is the B-League / this week Yetis Pick'ems. And then, of course, the Armchair DFS Show. Saturdays, it's Dynasty Saturday night. And the IDP show, Cover Zero. And then Sunday morning's a Sunday morning pregame show. Guess what? Then you're back to Monday and you come back here and we can talk all about all those shows again at the end of the show.
Promo King right there.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
There you go. We have Promo King and Promo Pimp. What more could you want?
Speaker. Just listen to Speak On It tomorrow. It's amazing.
It is amazing, you guys.
It's too much. I have to explain. I listen to that. I drive my daughter to school at like 6 o'clock Wednesday morning. I have to explain things to her, like what it is to put someone in a trunk. So, what does that mean, Daddy? Why is he putting him in a trunk? Don't worry, darling. Just
because once they're in the trunk, they don't have to worry about anything.
Okay, put him in the trunk.
Not capable of worrying.
He's going to put him in a trunk. Oh no! Why did he say that?
I can't even remember what the context was for that. But
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Probably they were complaining about. I think D might have been complaining about the Lakers. Who knows?
Probably
they're trunk bottom in the NBA, but that we're not an NBA show. But again, as Dan said, get all that on Speak On It. And you can follow again everything on Twitter. Follow your co-hosts individually on Twitter. We mentioned Doc, Dr. James Ferretti, author of the great book "Injuries Suck, But Your Fantasy Team Doesn't Have to." He's on Twitter at TFSDoc. That stands for the Fantasy Sports Doc. Dan's at the B League Says. Gladys is at Gladys L. Tyler. I'm at Senra Says. And as always, this was the 2-Point Conversion Monday Night Pregame Show. On behalf of Gladys and Dan, again, I'm Kyle Senra, saying bye for now.
Bye.